Welcome to Twilight Mystery. Tonight we travel back to a dark and foggy time in history. A time when fear ruled the streets of Whitechapel in London. More than 130 years ago, a brutal killer appeared out of the shadows. He murdered multiple victims, terrified an entire city, and then vanished without leaving behind a name. The world would come to know him as Jack the Ripper. But the truth is even more disturbing. To this day, nobody knows who he really was. The year was 1888. Whitechapel was one of the poorest areas in London. The streets were crowded, dirty, and dangerous. At night, thick fog covered the narrow alleys. Gas lamps barely lit the streets, creating long shadows everywhere. Crime was common. Poverty was everywhere. And many women were forced to work on the streets just to survive. It was in these dark streets that a killer began hunting. On August 31st, 1888, the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered in Bucks Row, Whitechapel, around 3:40 a.m. She was last seen just 1 hour before her body was found, walking in the direction of Whitechapel Road. Her throat had been brutally cut, but that wasn't the most horrifying part. Her abdomen had been mutilated in a way that shocked even experienced police officers. The city was horrified, but the nightmare was only beginning. On the 8th of September, 1888, the body of Annie Chapman was discovered at approximately 6 a.m. near the steps to the doorway of the backyard of Henbury Street. Her neck has been cut deep and her abdomen had been cut open and her uterus has been removed. Even before the police arrived, hundreds of people had already gathered around the crime scene, making it difficult for officers to control the crowd. Eyewitness described having seen Chapman standing outside Hanbury Street at about 5:30 a.m. in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat and dark overcoat, and of a shabby, genteel appearance. This incident made the people in Whitechapel even more scared. The murder quickly became a major issue across England, and even the Queen pressured police to catch the culprit as soon as possible. Then something strange happened. In September 1888, a letter was sent to the Central News Agency. The writer claimed to be the killer. At the bottom of the letter, he signed with a name that would become famous in history, Jack the Ripper. He specifically mentioned that he would cut off his next victim ear. Then came one of the most shocking nights in the entire case. September 30th, 1888. Within a single hour, 2 women were murdered. The first victim was Elizabeth Stride. Her body was found near Berber Street at 1 a.m., her throat cut. But strangely, her body was not mutilated like the other victims. Many investigators believe the killer may have been interrupted before he could finish, so he continued hunting. Many witnesses later gave different testimonies that her companion was dark, fair, shabbily dressed, well-dressed, which was more confusing. Less than an hour after the body was discovered, another murder occurred at Mitre Square, just under a mile from the previous crime scene. Her name was Catherine Eddowes. This time the attack was extremely brutal. The body had been severely mutilated, far worse than before. Her throat was cut, her right ear was cut off. The newspapers called this horrifying night the double event. It shocked the entire country. A section of Eddowes' bloodied apron was found at a place where a message written on a wall. It read, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." The message was found close to a piece of the victim's clothing. Police feared the writing could cause riots against Jewish residents in the area, so the message was quickly erased. But this decision later became controversial. Some investigators believe it might have been a clue left by the killer, and by erasing it, the police may have destroyed important evidence. The media exploded with the story. Newspapers across London printed the letter, and suddenly the entire city was terrified. Some historians believe this letter may have been a journalist's prank to sell newspapers, which means the killer might never have used that name at all. However, the fact that the next victim, Eddowes, had part of her ear cut off suggests otherwise. The name Jack the Ripper spread like wildfire. People were afraid to walk alone at night. Women in Whitechapel began forming groups just to travel through the streets safely, and the police were under enormous pressure. They increased patrols, questioned hundreds of suspects, and searched every dark alley. But the killer was always one step ahead. Soon after the letter, another package arrived. Inside was something horrifying, half of a human kidney. The letter claimed it came from victim Catherine Eddowes. The message read, "I fried and ate it. It was very nice." Even today, investigators still debate whether this was real evidence or just another cruel hoax. Then came the final and most horrifying crime. On November 9th, 1888, the body of Mary Jane Kelly, a full-time prostitute, was discovered inside her small room in Whitechapel at 10:45 a.m. Unlike the other victims, she had been murdered indoors. What police saw inside that room shocked even the most experienced investigators. Her throat has been slit, her body had been severely mutilated. The crime scene was so brutal that officers reportedly became physically ill. It remains one of the most disturbing crime scenes in criminal history. After this murder, the killing suddenly stopped. Just as mysteriously as he appeared, the killer vanished. No more murders matching the same pattern occurred in Whitechapel. Despite thousands of interviews and suspects, the identity of Jack the Ripper was never discovered. Some believe he died. Others think he was imprisoned for another crime. And some believe he simply escaped. The suspects. Over the years, many suspects were investigated. One suspect was Montague John Druitt, a lawyer whose body was later found in the River Thames. Some conspiracy theories even accused Prince Albert Victor, the grandson of Queen Victoria. Some modern investigators have examined DNA evidence found on the shawl belonging to victim Catherine, which is 100% matched to suspect Aaron Kuzminski, a barber who lived in Whitechapel and reportedly suffered from severe mental illness. But many experts disagree about the reliability of that evidence, so the case remains officially unsolved. More than 130 years later, the story of Jack the Ripper remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. More than 2,000 suspects have been investigated. Hundreds of letters claim to be from the killer, and countless books, movies, and documentaries have tried to solve the mystery. But after more than a century, the identity of Jack the Ripper remains hidden in the shadows. So the question remains, who was Jack the Ripper? A doctor? A butcher? A member of the royal family? Or someone so ordinary that nobody ever suspected him? Tell me your theory in the comments. And if you enjoyed dark mysteries, unsolved crimes, and unbelievable stories, subscribe to Twilight Mystery.